Have you ever been in a situation where you've said or done something that afterwards you wish you hadn't, because the atmosphere and you sensed a feeling of awkwardness after you'd said or done something? I want to tell you a little story where that happened to me. It was about 5, 6 years ago in my hometown of Hitchin, where I was living at the time, and I was in a sandwich bar at lunchtime getting a sandwich in a queue. It was a very small little sandwich bar, and I was waiting in line, and a lady came in behind me who was wearing a name tag which said community mental health nurse. Now, I knew that she was probably out on her lunch break from the community mental health team, which was just up the road around the corner, where I used to go for years actually, but I used to go every week for at least a year or so to see my primary care worker. And so I just sparked up a conversation with her and said, oh, you know, I used to go up there, is such and such still working there? Such a lovely place. And it was as if I'd said I was about to go and steal her car and go and do some terrible things. The reaction, the atmosphere from the other customers in line, it was as if they physically retreated and their eyes went down, and you know, I could feel their skepticism and their sort of wariness towards me because of what I said. Now, that's a prime example of mental health and the stigma that it has and the perception that people have of people that do struggle. I'm Dan Wintz. I've struggled on and off for my entire adult life severely with mental ill health. I've been labelled as paranoid schizophrenic, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar, anxiety, panic attacks, and I have been through the mill with care workers, with crisis team, with different medications, with different types of rehab, and I, after many years in bed, not being able to get out, I studied and I learned and I listened to YouTube videos and I read books about happyology, positive psychology and all that good stuff, and I now have a process for myself to keep myself well, which really works for me. But what I want to talk about in this video is stigma and perception and what we can do and why there is that. I think the first question is, why is there a stigma? And I think it's because a number of reasons, but first and foremost, you can't see it. It's not like a leg or an arm that may be broken. It's up here inside our brain, so that in itself makes it difficult. But the second reason, I think, is that there is still a shame attached to being depressed or being unwell due to mental problems. There's a shame that is attached to those people that do have it. And thirdly, I think there's a misconception around certain mental health illnesses, which is just untrue and unfounded, and we need to eradicate that. So, you know, Mind and some other charities say that it's 1 in 4 of us that will struggle, but I think that is wrong personally. I think it's 1 in 1, because we all have a brain, we all have mental health like we have physical health. So the solutions to removing this stigma and the perception are changing the narrative, changing how we talk about mental ill health. It's starting conversations so that people can see what's going on and how it affects different people, and so that others don't feel so alone. And also by changing the perception of what people think mentally ill people are like, and also letting people realise that it could happen to anybody, and all of us have a brain, all of us have mental fitness, and it just depends where we are on that spectrum of mental fitness as to whether or not we're classed as mentally ill or mentally well. So it's a unifying, it's a common trait that we all have, and the solutions, I think, to changing and eradicating and stamping out stigma towards mental ill health run along those 3 factors that I mentioned. Now, schizophrenia in particular, I think, is very misconceived and misunderstood. And partly this is because of the media and films, and you know, we often hear of terrible crimes committed by paranoid schizophrenics. But the fact of the matter is a very, very, very small percentage of schizophrenics that even have harmful thoughts towards themselves or towards others. And it's even a lower percentage, I think less than 1%, that actually act out on those thoughts. And also, you know, they could have been that way inclined anyway. So that's why, particularly for schizophrenics, there's a shame, there's a difficulty in speaking about it because of the misconceptions that are out there about it. Now, we've come a really long way. When I first became unwell 30 odd years ago, nobody spoke about this stuff. I thought I was going crazy, and I was going crazy, but I thought I was going crazy, and the main thing that really made it scary was that I thought it was just me. So there was no Robbie Williams, Stephen Fry, Ruby Wax talking about their issues. So that's good. We have come a long way on that front, but there is still a lot more to do, especially for certain diagnoses for mental illness. So by starting conversations, and it's great that a few high public profile people have done that, people do not feel alone, and there's education around starting conversations. So the more people can do this, the more people feel they can talk, the more people can feel that they are understood and they are not alone. So that's great. We need to change the narrative as well. So, you know, if I was to say to you, think of a physically well person, or physical health rather, I would imagine that most people, and maybe you, thought about a really fit guy or a fit lass in, you know, like a gym body. But if I was to say to you, think of mental health, you probably, or most people in the general public, would think of somebody that is unwell. They instantly go to mental health, meaning mental illness. And if we can change that perception so that mental health is linked to someone that is mentally fit and firing on all cylinders and really got good mental fitness, that would be a great, great leap. So there are things that all of us can do. I think we've come a long way. There's still a lot of work to do. And yeah, let's keep talking, keep changing misconceptions, and try and change the narrative. All the best. Bye for now.